The 1000 Year Blood War Arc trailer 2 dropped, and with that came a bunch of news and also a bunch of spoilers and leaks, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, is episode 1 and 2 of the anime. But before we get into that, make sure to like and subscribe, push this into the algorithm, and if you don't want to be spoiled, I do recommend not watching the video at all. But then again, I don't think it will really spoil you if you're a manga reader anyway, but anyway, you've been warned just in case. Now, of course, we have these leaks because Japan had a premiering of episode 1 and 2 in Japanese theatres to a select number of people and to the public as well. Now, while these episodes didn't have the opening and ending, it did, however, have the opening song play within the credits, which is really cool because we got to hear it as well as we did within the trailer itself. And from what I was seeing from the Japanese reception and their overall reaction, I think the one big key thing to note here is that they are very pleased because it does look like movie quality. And going from what we saw from the trailer, I have to believe them. I really do. It looks gorgeous, and I think from the general reception from my video and other people's videos, I think that notion comes to stand. But of course, you are all here for the spoilers for episode 1 and 2, so let's get into it, starting with episode 1. Now, of course, with episode 1 and 2, it does adapt 9 chapters of the manga. The first one being, of course, episode 1 covering 5 chapters, and of course episode 2 covering 4 chapters. And if you've been a fan of mine for a while, you would know that I also said in many streams that it would be on the average of 4 chapters an episode, which again is fine because that's what the old Bleach anime did anyway. Plus with the added extra content as well. Now, of course, I did hear that the runtime was longer than normal, so I'd have to research a little bit more about that to see if that is valid. Ready for the New Year's video that I will drop in maybe the coming days. Again, be subscribed for that. So the first episode is going to be called The Blood Warfare. This is on the official Bleach anime website along with the staff, and again, the staff look great as per usual. The episode starts off with how we saw the first PV with Yuhaba giving his statement about taking over the world in 9 days, regaining his strength in 90, etc, etc. So I feel like that's a good way to start the episode scenes, as throwing in Yuki and Shino isn't really probably the best way to throw an introduction, but throwing in Yuha and then I imagine the opening, which was a cut from the premiere, and then going into Yuki and Shino is probably the best transition into things to really set the tone and mood. Now, there were some changes. Apparently the Yuki and Shino with Kurumadani in the Soul Society is more so moved to the world of the living, given more so the conversation in the Soul Society into the world of the living, which again isn't that much of a bigger deal to me, and this solidifies this because of the screenshot that was shown on the website to which you see on screen right now. So again, this is little, and honestly I don't really mind as long as it just fits with the tone and carries on the conversation as per usual. We then do get a battle scene with the Hollows, which is again, as you saw in the trailer, many different Hollows coming in to attack, and of course we see Shino absolutely get pulverized as well as Yuki running away, as again you've seen from the trailer. We do have a bunch of 2D and 3D Hollows, so as we've seen in the trailer, not all the Hollows are going to be 3D, you are going to get some 2D shots as well, so I feel like the 3D is necessary for where it needs to be, and from what I again saw in the trailer, it is, because again, the background characters, you don't really want to go using unnecessary manpower on drawing all these Hollows moving when they're just like background characters and undetailed, so to say. So it's good in that sense, and again, the compositing really makes it look good anyway. But apparently all these Hollows don't really show up until Ichigo and the gang actually arrive and show up, which is interesting to me because it just maybe proves to me that because there's such a high concentrated amount of spiritual pressure in one place, being Orihime, Chad, Uryu, Ichigo all in one place, you're going to attract all these Hollows, much like the Quincy Hollow bait did back in the first arc, if you remember that. Hollows are more garnered towards high spiritual pressure and will gather in such a place, and this kind of makes sense. Again, I haven't seen the episode, so I imagine that this is the context towards that. Now, I believe this is within the 10 minutes of the first episode, so it's a great exercise to introduce the characters that we all know and love, again being Ichigo and his gang. So it gives a good excuse to demonstrate the powers of each character. Uryu with his bows, Chad with his fists, Ichigo throwing a yellow Getsuga. Again, I guess I have to accept it. It's within the color manga. I don't know if that was the correct context of that color. I prefer the blue personally because of the Getsuga Juji show. How's that going to look? Is that going to be yellow and red now, or yellow and black? We'll have to see when we have to see. But yes, it seems to be the case that Ichigo does go Bankai within fighting these Hollows. Don't know why, don't know the context. it is fan servicey at the end of the day. But again, as long as it's done right, then I can't complain. I do feel it's unnecessary, but for the sake of narration, I suppose again it's to get people hyped and excited and to flex whatever animation muscles Taguchi wants to kind of show here. But after like the first 10 to 15 minutes, you then get the continuation of how the chapters would go normally. Following up that at the end of the episode, Yuha removes the arm of one of the servants to display like how OP and merciless he is. And then I imagine on the second half of the episode, you are then going to have the Ichigo versus Iburn confrontation where, you know, he tells him to get off his bed, which we've heard, you know, episode leak, audio leak sounds of them two interacting in the first episode. So I didn't really listen to it because I don't really want to take away the immersion, but I did hear a little bit of that scene, and it seems to be that, you know, we're going past that, which again, as I said, going through 5 chapters. So again, we're going to get a bit of Ichigo and a bit of Iburn. Is it Iburn or Ivan? You tell me in the comments section down below. I think it's Iburn, which again, I think is fine. I think it's a great way to kind of introduce the characters, give the first big bad villain that Ichigo faces, showcase a little bit of cool animation, and then getting the big boss battle. So the big boss at the end of the episode being Yuha, showing how merciless he is. The one thing that they did remove is the Hiyori and Lisa bath scene, where Hiyori does notice a bit of a ripple in space, being obviously the Von Dam Rake's little shadow thing, I believe. But apart from that, I don't think that this is much of an issue, because I do think that they have probably rearranged some scenes. So you'll probably see that scene later on. I'm not saying that that's a guarantee. I just imagine that it is something that, when you look at it in the manga, it doesn't make too much sense, but I imagine it will make sense later on, where the Vizards kind of talk about, like, you know, getting involved and whatnot. So it's probably going to be a callback later on in the episodes. Again, it's not a big scene. I'm not that bothered of it leaving, but again, we love Lisa and Hiyori, so, you know, but maybe in the future. Then we get to episode 2, which is really interesting, but I do have my complaints slightly with the time of days, but we'll get onto that after episode 2. Not much to say about episode 2. Again, it's 4 chapters. It's going to be called Foundation Stones, and there is some really interesting things that I really want to touch upon about this episode in general, is that there is an added flashback with Yuha Bar really catching, if you really want to classify it as catching, the time of which he catches Tia Haribel. And this is cool because this is something people wanted for ages. Now, I guess in the manga, it really added like a shock value, which is fantastic. But for fans that are coming in from the manga into the anime, I'm glad that we actually get to see a little bit, even if we don't see a full-on battle. Like, we don't know because, you know, there's only so much that has been leaked, but we know that there is a flashback, which you will notice in the trailer is when Yuha is descending down with 2 pillars of blue light coming from his fists. And if you look as well at the bottom of the trailer of that shot, you see a bunch of like Quincy like insignias on like poles and stuff, as you would expect in like a raid or a war, you know, the whole like pitchforks and torches type of deal. And it's really cool because the great thing about this is apparently Pesce is the one that is the MVP of this scene, because while Tia Haribel still has, you know, a bit of fighting breath left in her, she actually orders Pesce to like get everyone out, and I imagine that is like Nell and whoever else, right? I think it was just Nell, because I think Don DeCharco got left in Hueco Mundo at the time. So he managed to get Nell out of there, which, you again, think about it, if Pesce never did that, Nell couldn't have fulfilled her duties in the final arc of the war as well. So, I mean, it's kind of good. I don't know how much Nell would have really lasted if she got captured with Haribel, but I'm glad because Pesce managed to get Nell out of there, get to the world of the living, and give Ichigo the warning. So the past, or the flashback, is told via Pesce's narration, which again I think is a great scene to add, and shout outs to Taguchi and Hiromitsu for really throwing that in there as well. Another great thing as well is that the Apache, Milarose and Sun scene at the end of the, I guess, episode is going to be extended. Like, there's going to be a little fight that's extended, and while again in the manga, you know, you have to cut things to make sure, you know, you get to the point, in a sense. That's what Kubo likes to do. It's good that, you know, even though we get to see how strong Kurge is by literally just one-shotting them, so it seems in the manga, it's good that we actually get to see a little bit of fight, a little bit of back and forth. Again, I don't think it will last long, but I appreciate it nonetheless, because they didn't have to give us action shots after action shots after action shots. They could really just cut corners and just, you know, no diff them. So it seems like we're going to get that all in episode 2. And again, we see a little bit of that in trailer 2 as well, which is really nice. We get to see it in a little bit in trailer 1 as well, where he catches one of Apache's, I think, armbands or arm wristbands. I'm not quite sure. Can't really remember, but yeah, I'm really happy that those three are going to get a little bit of a fight scene. And one thing apparently that was removed, as well as the Hiyori bath scene from episode 1, is apparently Byakuya's speech from Chojiro's funeral. Now again, I did look at this chapter and I did look at this conversation or this speech, and it is essentially just Byakuya kind of expressing who Chojiro was and why he was so respected and so honored as a lieutenant, and a bit about him. That being removed from the funeral, again, depending on the context of the episode, because it was particularly more so a Yamamoto kind of chapter in regards to that funeral, I feel like this is going to get narrated or shown to us maybe through Yamamoto's eyes, or maybe this scene where Byakuya explains about Chojiro will be explained later on, maybe within the captain's meeting where, you know, a certain other character dies and they're all discussing the value of those two characters. I'm not quite sure, but I feel like there is going to be a lot of, not a lot, but a lot of minuscule scenes with exposition kind of moved around to other scenes later on in the episodes to make it flow a bit more and to give a bit more context when it's needed potentially. So again, I'm not angry with these scenes that have been cut, and again, they could be added in. I mean, that's copium. I doubt that it will be, but again, I don't really see an issue with these. I don't know about you guys, but again, I could go with or without. I don't think that that's important. Then again, I hope that Chojiro's death in general, again, spoilers, is something that, while it is impactful, his story can be told in any way, shape or form. So even through Yamamoto's flashback, I mean, they could do that. They could, well, they did. I do believe they did do that as well. So maybe that's what they're waiting for to showcase it there. So that's all we know about episodes 1 and 2. As I said, the opening and the ending weren't shown in this spotlight, and apparently the episodes were longer than your average TV length episode. So I'm really excited to see if that's true, or, you know, how they're going to play with that. Is it going to be 40 minutes or is it going to be, you know, 45 minutes, you know, just like how Fate did it? Yeah, I'm really excited if that is the case, because again, this is a passion project, and if they continue to do little episodes like this, like Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, for example, episode 12, I believe, did this, then again, the 48 to 52 episode count isn't that bad when you think about it. Now, I do believe that's a placeholder, but I will hold off on talking about that until the news video itself. So tell me what your guys' thoughts on episode 1 and episode 2 spoilers, and what you think of the pacing and how it's going to be done. But again, it looks gorgeous, and I like how it's going so far, and I think they're playing it really well. That being said, though, I'm going to catch you guys later. You guys, of course, have this fine day, been Hanson, and as always, people, peace out.